Okay, we're now going to see if we can find an equation for this parabola, just given a sketch of its curve. So looking at this, first of all we need to decide what form of the equation of a parabola should we use. I know about its turning point and its y-intercept. Its turning point is telling me that completing the square form would be a good idea. So we know that in order to have a turning point at -2, -3, we're going to need to have x plus 2 squared minus 3. The reason for this is the only bit of our equation which can vary, and it's squared. We know that the lowest that something squared can be is 0. As we have a negative parabola here, I know it must be a minus x squared something. So the smallest thing I can ever take away, given that this is squared, will be 0. Remember, you can't square something and end up with a negative. The smallest it can be is 0. So the smallest thing I can take away is 0. And when I'm taking away 0, I still want my y value to be -3. So I put in the -3 there. Now, I've assumed that that would just work. However, I haven't yet taken into account the y-intercept. So I might need some number of these to be subtracted. I know that the turning point is definitely -3, so I'm not going to put a constant there, but I might need to have some number of x squared terms that I subtract. Okay, so how can we find our a? What I'm going to do is I'm now going to use my y-intercept. You could use any other coordinate, but if you've got a y-intercept, that's probably the easiest one to use because you just get to substitute in x is 0. So if we substitute that in, x is just 0, so I'm just going to have +2 squared. And now I can just rearrange this. So rearranging this, I'm going to get 4a, making it positive because I've brought it over this side, is equal to -3, add the 4. I can see that my a is 1/4, meaning the equation of this parabola will be y equals minus, don't forget that we chose a to be negative because we knew it would be a negative parabola, -1/4 x plus 2 squared from our completed the square form, -3, finishing off our completed the square form. And that's probably the easiest way to do it given this information. Another alternative might be that we're given some different information. We could, for example, be given the factors of a parabola. Let's say that we were told all of its axis intercepts. Let's go for 6, 2, and then this can be 8. Okay, so now we've been given the intercepts, it's probably going to be easier to use factorised form. So again, we can see from looking at this that our factors will be x minus 2, x minus 6, but just like before, we may need some multiple of this in order to get the correct other coordinate. Again, I'm using the y-intercept. You may be given some other point. Just remember, if that's the case, you'll need to substitute in your x-coordinate as well as your y-coordinate. Okay, so in this case, we're going to substitute in again, y is 8, x is 0, remember because I'm using the y-intercept. Like we said, if you have a different coordinate, make sure that you don't just substitute in 0 for x. Maybe you were given, say, 8. 8 would be another coordinate that's on this graph. Okay, so we'll substitute that in, -2, -6, and now we can work out the value of a. So we're going to get 8 is equal to a times 12. Dividing through by the 12, we see that a is 8/12, which is just the same as 2/3. So in this case, our equation will be y equals 2/3 x minus 2, x minus 6. That's the equation for this graph.